You are definitely a leafer. I don't. That is how I see it. Just kind of gently caressing the pages of the scriptures. So, hey, do you know what happened? My family bought me a very lovely Bible for me last year. It's got my name on it.
Oh, lovely. Initials, yeah.
Initials right there. Anyway, my son ripped out the last page, Revelation 22. Out of
That's the. Isn't that the end of the bit where it says if anyone takes any of the words out of this book?
If anyone adds anything to them, God will add to that person the plagues described in this scroll. Is that what you mean? If anyone takes words away from this scroll of prophecy, God will take away from that person any share in the tree of life and in the holy city, which are described in this scroll.
I think we'll not take the removal of that page too literally.
No.
Okay, but a lovely Bible, James.
Really nice Bible, and it goes up to Revelation chapter 21, and then that's it.
That's the end.
So, anyway.
You've also lost your table of weights and measures, I think.
Yeah. Shall I read that in a really loud voice? No. Ooh, a pim, a biblical unit, pim. Didn't know that. A pim is a quarter of an ounce. Honestly.
There you go.
Anyway. Okie dokie.
Shall we get into
please.
the meat of this week's question? I feel like you're still absorbed by the...
Well, there's also a liquid measure called a bath, which how many gallons do you think a bath is? 6 gallons.
Oh, yeah.
6 gallons.
You're looking that up in...
What
in
is
a,
6
in a
gallons? The equivalent of... Anyway, Dan, tell us your question while I tell you what 6 gallons looks like.
I think you maybe just conclude that, and then we can dive into the this episode.
6 gallons is the equivalent of 27 litres.
Okay.
It's a lot of milk. This
Thank
is
you for
going
sharing
nowhere,
that with us.
Dan.
Yeah.
So
should we get
move
to
us
our
on,
question?
mate. Yeah.
The question we have been sent today, and our questions, by the way, if you're watching or listening for the first time, our questions are sent in to us by people who listen and watch. So if you have one of these, we'd love to hear it, and we'd love to talk about it. So this is a question from a listener/viewer, and it is, why did Moses and Elijah meet with Jesus? Why did Moses and Elijah meet with Jesus? Are you turning up the passage at hand, James?
Well, it appears in a few of the Gospels, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm assuming. At least 3. John does his own thing, doesn't he?
John does, yeah. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are they're on the same page, aren't they? Then John does his own thing.
Yeah, John. John's got his own vibe going. Matthew 17 is what I had open. Should I read it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While he was still speaking, a bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified. But Jesus came and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid." When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus instructed them, "Don't tell anyone what you have seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." The disciples asked them, "Why then do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first?" Jesus replied, "To be sure, Elijah comes and will restore all things. But I tell you, Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, but have done to him everything they wished. In the same way, the Son of Man is going to suffer at their hands." Then the disciples understood that he was talking to them about John the Baptist.
There we go.
What on earth is going on here?
Such a lot happening, isn't it?
Yeah, there are bits that I understand, and there are bits that I'm just like, it's just amazing to me that at the end it's like, then the disciples understood that I bet you they didn't. I don't know. I'm just like, Matthew trying to back his mates up here and go, yeah, they understand. We knew what Jesus was talking about.
They at least partially got, didn't they? Yeah.
That's poetic license. People don't.
Okay.
But hey, Dan, come on. What is going on here?
Well,
I know that Moses and Elijah represent different things.
Yeah.
In this story.
I guess the first thing to go is what's happening in the Transfiguration, because Jesus goes up a mountain and it's like, well, he's visibly just changed, right? Light shining out of him and out of his clothes, sort of
being glorified.
Yeah, it's almost like for most of the time, he's the Son of God walking on earth, and he looks and appears like any other person. And yet in this moment, there's almost like a little glimpse into, for those disciples who see it, a little glimpse into, well, here's like the shining glory of God the Son, like his face. Even so, by the way, but say his face, his human flesh, right? The human body that, he was born of Mary, and his clothes, all this created stuff now is filled with and shining out with divine glory, like presumably some kind of like glimpse into what he is in eternity in himself. It's amazing. And they get to, of course, it's up a mountain. I think so much Old Testament resonance there, isn't there? Like going up the mountain to meet with the Lord, to see the Lord, the God of Israel.
Yeah.
And they're getting to see this moment, aren't they, with a clarity that maybe they don't normally, clearly they don't normally see. They're stunned by it. But then there's Moses and Elijah, two of these long dead heroes from the Old Testament. And what are they doing here? It's quite amazing, isn't it?
It is. And is there any... You're going to say yes, there is, but there is always some merit in looking at what happens before and after such scenes, isn't there, Dan?
Yeah, I think so.
Because it kind of provides a bit of context. So what's going on before and after?
Well, just shortly before, in Matthew's Gospel, Jesus has talked about his death and resurrection for the first time. So it's like, in terms of explaining to them what he's going to do in terms of his cross, his being raised from the dead, he's letting them in to see the fullness and the glory of what he's going to do. He's not just going to spend his life being a wandering preacher who heals diseases and stuff. He's doing something just beyond all human understanding, and a glory and fullness of connection with God that has never had. The disciples don't have that in their minds, most of the Gospels, and so he's beginning to talk to them about it. And Matthew 16, they are struggling to comprehend it. That's when Peter says, "Lord, this can't happen to you. You can't die." And the Lord really quite sternly says, "Get behind me, Satan. You're a hindrance to me. You're setting your mind not on the things of God, but the things of man." And this is almost like it's almost like maybe a glimpse that they needed to see that Jesus is more than you thought he was. He's God himself come down to earth. In the next little section after the Transfiguration, he's casting a demon out of a boy. Again, this is a supernatural event. This isn't something that humans just ordinarily do. So I think they're getting this glimpse into who he really is.
It's interesting to me that it's Peter, James, and John.
Yeah,
that's witnessed this as well, and Jesus draws those three in a few times in a interesting way, doesn't he? So they witness the Transfiguration. The raising of Jairus' daughter is another example where Peter, James, and John are in the room when Jesus raises the girl from death. They're also in Gethsemane, takes the same three deeper into the garden as he faces the agony of the cross. So there's a pattern there as well, that they see Jesus' authority over death. They see his divine glory. They see something of his suffering. And they obviously then become like key witnesses to the resurrection later on.
There's some kind of inner circle, isn't there, of the disciples?
Yeah.
As well, I'm just looking over the passage again. They hear the voice of God the Father identifying who Jesus is, which is again, this is, you feel like you're almost back on sort of Mount Sinai, right? When the voice of the Lord speaks and the people are shaking. Here's the Father speaking. This is my beloved Son with whom I'm well pleased. Listen to him. And they all fall on their faces and are terrified. And then Jesus says that really interesting thing: don't tell anyone what you've seen here until I've been raised from the dead. It's almost like what you're seeing now is a reality that you're not even going to understand until I've died and risen again. People can't handle this. It's so deep. So keep a lid on it for now, chaps. An amazing moment. Okay, but we got to get to it. So why Moses and Elijah? Why those two? What's going on? Why are they there? And why those two from among all the different Old Testament characters, heroes?
Well, from my understanding, Moses represents the law. So we've already talked about the mountain of God and Moses going up Mount Sinai to receive the law of God on tablets of stone, the commandments in the book of Exodus. So Moses is associated with the law, and Elijah is associated with the prophets. So calling Israel back to God, confronting idolatry, awaiting the coming day of the Lord. And so I guess when Moses and Elijah appear with Jesus, like the Old Testament itself standing beside Jesus and saying, this is the one who we were pointing to all the time. And of course then that's then complemented with God's voice saying, this is my Son, who I'm well pleased, which would have been heard at Jesus's baptism. So it's not just, I suppose it's not just like listen to Moses, listen to Elijah. It's like listen to Jesus. He's the fulfillment of all these things.
Here's all that's gone before, sort of backing him up. I'm thinking as well of for both Moses and Elijah in the Old Testament, in the stories of their lives and their ministries. I think they both had encounters with Jesus, with God the Son at that time. Before he was born, the nativity became one of us as the eternal Son. This could be a whole other episode, James, but I think it's God the Son who's in the burning bush talking to Moses, calling him into his ministry and revealing himself as the Lord and the I am. I think it's him, the word of the Lord, who comes to Elijah. I've just got 1 Kings 17 open here, and Elijah and his ministry beginning, and he talks about the Lord, the God of Israel, before whom I stand. And then we read about the word of the Lord coming to him. We know who the word of the Lord is, the word who is in the beginning with God. I think these two, it's as if they're standing here on the Mount of Transfiguration saying, this is the God of Israel. This is the one who we've met, who's called us, who's spoken to us, who we've obeyed and worshipped. And now, here we are standing with him. As you say, the law, the prophets, all that's gone before, with the voice of God the Father from heaven. It's like, this is Jesus, the Lord of Israel. Here he is. In his glory. It's amazing. What a moment.
And it's, you probably don't need us to say this, but it clearly, if you see that, that's going to live with you. If you're Peter, James and John and you've seen that, that is a thing that you don't forget. And even, Jesus says, don't tell anyone about it until I've been resurrected. Peter actually then talks about it in one of his letters in 2 Peter chapter 1, in which he talks about reminding the people of the things that are established in truth. And he says in verse 16, "For we did not follow cleverly devised stories when we told you about the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ in power, but we were eyewitnesses of his majesty. He received honor and glory from God the Father when the voice came to him from the majestic glory saying, 'This is my son whom I loved, with whom I am well pleased.' We ourselves heard this voice that came from heaven when we were with him on the sacred mountain." So there you go. There's further reference to the Transfiguration. That must have just lived with him. Don't forget that in a hurry.
Yeah.
Do you think, Dan, that it was actually Moses and Elijah, like as in, or was it just like hologram?
I'm much more lean towards they're there physically.
Yeah, come on, they're
I
there.
think you've got to. I think I've got to. Rather than it being a vision or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, Elijah. We know at the end of Elijah's life, he was apparently taken up to heaven in a chariot of fire. He didn't die and get buried. He was whisked away.
Yeah.
And Moses, the end of Moses' life is maybe a little bit more shadowy than that, but he goes up a mountain with the Lord, and the Lord shows him the land of Canaan and says, you're not going to be able to go into this yourself. I want you just to see it from up here before the other people cross in. You're going to see it. And then it just says that Moses died up on the mountain. He just wondered, did the Lord take him then? Again, or perhaps like Elijah bodily, I don't know. We're in the realms of conjecture there, but could it be both of them, unlike most people in glory, are there bodily and so able to make a bodily visit in the Transfiguration? Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's also, James, at risk of taking us further into the realms of deep discussion, I think they make an appearance, Moses and Elijah, in Revelation 11.
Oh, that page hasn't been ripped out of my Bible.
It's just before your final page.
Yeah.
It's this is part of John's vision that he receives, which obviously has to do a lot with the suffering and persecution of the early church, but it also has a lot to do with the future, the return of Christ, and so on. Obviously, there's all kinds of ways of that people have disagreed about reading Revelation, but I think in Revelation 11 we read about these two witnesses who will come and stand prophesying. For Revelation 11 says 1,260 days, and we read about them. Interestingly, they have, this is verse 6, they have power to shut the sky that no rain may fall during the days of their prophesying. That's exactly what Elijah did, stopped the rain in Israel for a time. And they have power to over water to turn the waters into blood and to strike the earth with every kind of plague, which is like Moses in the Exodus.
I was about to make a dun dun dun.
So, yeah, this is a chapter that's maybe too deep for us to get into, but it says, when they finish their testimony, the beast that rises from the bottomless pit will make war on them and conquer them and kill them. Their dead bodies will lie in the street of the great city that symbolically is called Sodom and Egypt, where their Lord was crucified. For 3.5 days, some of the peoples and tribes and languages and nations will gaze at their dead bodies and refuse to let them be placed in a tomb. And those who dwell on earth will rejoice over them and make merry and exchange presents, because these two prophets had been a torment to those who dwell on the earth. But after the 3.5 days, a breath of life from God entered them, and they stood up on their feet, and great fear fell on those who saw them. And they heard a loud voice from heaven saying, "Come up here." And they went up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies watched them. And at that hour there was a great earthquake, and 1/10 of the city fell. So there's lots going on in Revelation that we probably can't get into, but this is, I think, something about, again, Moses and Elijah being like symbolic of the witness of the people of God, and prophesying for this time when the world is against them and the people of God are hanging on and they are persecuted and suffer and die, but the Lord rises them. So just again there in Revelation 11, for John and for the people he's writing to, this use of Moses and Elijah as like a sign of the church, the people of God, holding out with the prophetic word and in the power of God, witnessing to Jesus against and in the world. At least that's going on, which is just interesting. They're being used in a similar way there as representative figures.
That is so cool, Dan.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, very cool. I can't help but think that there's obviously the kind of what Moses and Elijah represent. Peter, James, and John get to see this. They refer back to it. There's a kind of glorification moment of Jesus in which they see him in his glory. And then, of course, however long after, Jesus is crucified. And you also... Isn't this just like Jesus, that there's this kind of pastoral encouragement in all of this, that as they see Jesus being arrested and tried and ultimately killed on a cross, that at least those three men could look back and remember that this is the King of Glory, who the scriptures that they would have known. You know, that Peter, James, and John did not have the New Testament to refer to. They're living in it in real time, and so they've got their Old Testament, and they can take great courage knowing that this is the Messiah, this is the Christ, the one that will be raised and in glory. And I don't know, I just see the kindness of Jesus in this moment as well as it being this like incredibly jaw-dropping moment at the top of a mountain seeing Jesus in his glory. It's like Jesus preparing them for what is to come. And I think there's then a pastoral implication for us too, isn't there, in which when we're faced with trials and struggles and we can't see through, we also need a bigger vision of who Jesus is, and as the King of Glory in those moments as well. So I also see the kindness of Jesus in this.
Yeah, I love that. I'm just thinking as well of, the two disciples on the road to Emmaus who Jesus appears to after the resurrection, who are down, disappointed, and Jesus comes to them, and eventually he leads them through, says, the law and the prophets.
Yeah, nice.
Moses and Elijah, and shows them himself with the scriptures. It's like they also could then go back to the scriptures and go, I remember Moses and Elijah, they were there like with Jesus, and that here they're in the text, they're leading us to a greater knowledge of him. And they would have probably gone back through the Old Testament being like, oh, we never got that in Jesus' ministry. When he was here, we were asking him all these crazy dumb questions, and we've been so blind, but this is what he was saying all along. I was looking at the end at Acts 26 as well, where Paul is hauled up before King Agrippa, and he basically says, I'm not preaching anything other, he says, than what the prophets and Moses said would come to pass. So there's like this like solid foundation that Moses, the prophets laid of like telling us who Jesus is, and we're not making up our own stories. We're not coming up with anything new. This is the solid rock that the people of God have always stood on, is to know Jesus as the fulfillment and the meaning of everything. And it's just to be able to imagine, to be able to see them there and say, yeah, you just check out our writings, you'll see Jesus there. Yeah, amazing.
Wonderful. Hey, what a cool passage of scripture to get into.
Yeah.
And so I love talking about those things with you, Dan. So thank you for another great question. Don't you just feel like sometimes we're just like we get to just the privilege of being able to talk about these things because of people's fantastic questions.
Yeah.
So, hey, just before we finish, you might be listening to this, not realizing that we've officially become YouTubers. And currently it's sitting at 44 subscribers. 46. Apparently we've had two new subscribers in the last hour. That's probably me and you, Dan. We've probably finally subscribed. So
we are poised to take over the internet, James. It's coming.
It certainly feels like that. So if you want to watch us for whatever reason,
YouTube, we need to make clear.
Pardon?
On Spotify, we've got a lot more.
Oh yeah. Oh, we know we're viral on Spotify. Yeah. No, don't worry about that.
But Spotify, you can also watch the video now as well. So
Yeah.
That's quite something. That's not. It's just not what I knew Spotify for. But turns out there's video on that as well. Yeah.
Anyway, you can like and subscribe, which I've always wanted to say, on our YouTube channel.
Are you going to do a little point where you say point and the little button arrives there?
Description below. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Comment below. Anyway, there you have it. Head to our YouTube channel. Say hi to us that way. You could even probably submit a question via our YouTube channel.
Is that possible? Yes, it is.
Of course
Very
it is.
good.
So yeah. Anyway,
Anything's possible these days.
that's enough of that.
Thanks, James.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.